Yes, hit that like button.
Corps of Engineers for almost a year, and the abuses that I saw by government employees was astounding and shocking. I worked as a realty specialist, and that is someone who manages government-owned lands. So when farmers and ranchers lease land to graze cattle, we would manage that. When I was hired, my boss bragged that it was basically impossible to get fired from the federal government, and that in her entire time working for the government, she'd only seen one person fired, and that person assaulted a fellow employee, and she wasn't even fired for assaulting the employee at work. She was fired for lying about it because they caught it on camera. When I worked for the government, we were allowed to work 50% in the office and 50% from home for the most part.
Imagine that.
In some cases, if you'd worked there, like I think over 10 years or something, you could actually work from home 3 days a week and work from the office 2 days a week. I use the word work very loosely. One employee spent his time remote working, running his own farm. Another employee bragged about drunk driving and going out to lunch with her friends for margaritas when she was supposed to be remote working. No one would log into their computers, and you can see it because they're not on Teams, and no one ever checked. Ever.
It's repulsive.
There's something called the 80-20 rule where 80% of the work in government is done by 20% of the people, and this is very, very true. People who get a job in the government a lot of times find out that it's very difficult to fire them, and they take advantage of this. One employee would come into the office, his start time would be 6:30, and he knew nobody would be there. And when I came in at 7:30 and I was the next person to come in, he was snoring at his desk every single morning. Another employee would take the government truck on an almost daily basis so that he could go out to lunch and then go and take a nap in his favorite park under a shady tree in the government truck. One of the very first things I did when I started working for the Corps, I spent 3 months cleaning up their real estate files room, which was a disaster. The government is using an antiquated system that was developed sometime in the 90s and using regulations that haven't been updated since the 90s to manage our dams and our government lands. Our government is filled with the most incompetent and most lazy people and an occasional hard worker. And those hard workers are severely punished every time they outwork their colleagues, because then the colleagues realize people will see that they're lazy and they don't want to have to work more. They're just buying time until they retire in almost every case. My point is, some of our government organizations haven't been maintained or updated in so long that you basically need to create a new organization and start from scratch, because there's almost no way to transfer it over. And there's so much red tape in between, it'll never get done. But I know that our government is inefficient because the people working for it are not doing what they need to do to take care of the rest of us. So no, I don't think government employees should get the benefit of working from home. If our government is not working for us, we shouldn't have to take years to do anything in a technological age. They choose to take that long. That's a choice.
All right, so now let's take a look at what Trump plans on doing, because I only saw this like an hour ago. He says he wants to buy out all the federal employees. By the way, hit the like button, guys. I see 200 people in here just about, and only, what is it? And only 45, 50 likes. Come on, let's step it up. Trump offering to buy out all employees. Let's not go to Axios because they suck. Bah. Trump offering to buy out federal employees. Come on. Here we go. Let's go CNBC. Trump administration offering buyout nearly all federal workers. The administration is offering millions to federal workers the option to accept buyouts through a government-wide deferred resignation program. Offer comes as President Trump's administration pushes all federal employees to return to office 5 days per week. White House expects up to 10% of federal employees to take the buyout, an official told NBC. The administration is offering millions to federal workers to opt out the option to accept a buyout through a government-wide deterrent resignation program. they resign by February 6th. Those who accept the offer will receive payout benefits through September 30th, according to a draft email obtained by Tuesday by NBC News. Sweeping buyouts are being offered to make sure all federal workers are on board with the new administration's plan to have federal employees in office and adhering to higher standards. A senior administration official told NBC a condition of anonymity. We're 5 years past COVID and just 6% of federal employees work full-time in office. Wow. 6% of federal employees work full-time in office. That's insane. She said, that's unacceptable, the official said, citing a report from Senator Joni Ernst, the lady who almost voted against Pete Hegseth, who co-chairs the Congressional Doge Caucus. Interesting. The White House expects up to 10% of the federal employees to take the buyout. Emails will be sent starting Tuesday afternoon. NBC report buyouts are being offered full-time to federal employees except military personnel, U.S. Postal Service workers, roles related to immigration enforcement and national security. Any other positions specifically excluded by your employee agency, the emails will say, according to NBC, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I don't know if you guys know the scope of how big this is. Like, federal employees are just like unions, and then federal employees who are part of unions, bleh, like that is like the worst mindset of society. Like in terms of entitlement, laziness, like wanting to do the minimum. Look at this. So, how many employees work for government in U.S.? All right. 3 million people. I thought it was more than that. Federal government. Maybe state and federal government. There you go. 20 million. So here, total government employees by year. Look at this. Oh, wow. This isn't even like peaking right now, but 40 years ago was, what's that, 14 million? Now we're up to 21 million. Like this is a pandemic. When did it peak? It peaked in 2020. Interesting. Look at that. 2009 doesn't even drop off after 2008. What does that tell you? That, you know what? This is fascinating. It doesn't drop off in 2008 or in 20. Wow. It goes up both years significantly after the economic crashes. How about that? So look here, I'm going to show you something crazy here. In unemployment rates. Watch, this is wild. I never even thought of this before. You don't get fired from a government job when the fucking market crashes. Oops, I sweared. I was doing so good. I don't think I swear this whole episode yet. All right, so, yeah. All right, ready? So let's just go. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to 87 because I think that one goes. All right, here we go. I wish I could do a side-by-side chart. Look at this. All right, so total unemployment rate, right? The big market crashes. What is it? 87. You know, it drops down. I think there's something in 82 as well, but this is really the big one, the dot-com bubble, right? Then 2008, big time layoffs after that. Then COVID, you know, big layoff goes from, or excuse me, I'm looking at this the wrong way, my bad. Unemployment rate goes up. Let me bring this back a little bit. Okay, so goes up, goes up, goes up. All the big market crashes, right? Unemployment rate goes from 4% to peak of 6% during the dot-com bubble. Goes from 4.7% July 2007 to almost 10%, but yeah, 10% in 2009, right? And then look at this. Nothing happens when it's the freaking government. Or is it? Look, not even a blip. either stays the same or keeps going up. Look, it's up more than it was in 2000, in 2003. You know why? Because they don't have consequences for operating poorly like a business does. Same thing in 2008. Freaking goes up from 2008 to 2009. What the hell is that? A little drop off during COVID, but pretty much caught all the way back up. That's crazy. I've never even thought about that before. But yeah, anyway. 20 million employees. So what does that cost per year? That's the next question. How much do states and federal government employees cost? It's not going to give me a good number. Okay, this is interesting. So the green is federal, pink is private. Okay, so they cost more. Yeah, because they are more capable people. But one has the chance of getting fired. The other doesn't have the chance of getting fired. I want to know how much it costs as a budget item to pay all these people per year. Let's see. Federal government spending breakdown. This is going to lead into the next thing too, because we got to talk about what they did with Medicare today. This one sucks. Where's the freaking good charts that show the breakdown? Yeah, this one's not. I think is this the right one? Nope. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Social Security, National Defense, Health, Income Security. Yeah, I don't even think they put it as a real item. Let's ask ChatGPT quick. And then I'll show you what they tried to do with Medicare today. Ask ChatGPT. How much do state and federal employees cost the U.S. government? Per year? All right, it's doing the math. Adding the federal and state local costs together yields an estimated annual expenditure of approximately $2.7 trillion. What? Oh, I gotta show you this. Didn't think it was gonna be that high. So, all right. I said, how much do state and federal employees cost the U.S. government? Determine the cost, state and federal, analyzing comprehension data, blah, blah, blah. Average cost, including benefits, was 143. Federal government, 2 million civilian workers, annual cost, $287 billion for federal civilian employees. State is where it really gets crazy. So including state with that 20 million bunch, Jesus Christ. Assuming standard 2,000 hour work year, annual, Jesus. That's half the friggin' federal budget. I guess maybe it's comes out of the state budget for the state employees. Do state salaries come from federal budget? I think that's a dumb question. Partially. So even let's just say it's the 2.8 billion or 280 billion. That's still like 5% of our federal budget. And if it's this full number, all right, so yeah, like 30, 40% of state budgets come from federal funds. So let's say 1.2, 1.3 trillion of our $5 trillion federal budget goes towards freaking federal employees where 20% of them do 80% of the work. Yeah, time for a change. I'd say so. Now, speaking of wasteful spending, let's talk about Medicare real quick. So Trump got everybody all freaked out today. He, in his, what he was trying to do got blocked by a judge because they're saying it was causing chaos, blah, blah, blah. You might have seen Chuck Schumer talking about it. I'll show you that real quick. So here, check this out. So Trump was trying to freeze federal spending. Let me fix this thing. All right. So judge blocks federal assistance freeze after chaos over Medicaid and other funding. White House sought to pause trillions of dollars in federal assistance. Oh, by the way, didn't you guys see about the $50 million a year going to condoms in Gaza, supplying Gaza with condoms? Yeah. There's not even 50 million people there, I don't think. A judge temporarily blocked the implementation of a sweeping White House effort to pause potentially trillions of dollars in federal grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs, a directive that created chaos as states struggle to access funding portals dealing with Medicaid, emergency aid, and low-income education and nutrition services like food stamps and welfare. Minutes before the White House order was set to take effect, the U.S. District Judge Lauren Ali Khan in Washington temporarily blocked federal agencies from taking steps to implement it, ruling from the bench that at the end of a hastily arranged court hearing, Ali Khan said she was issuing a brief stay that would preserve the status quo until she can hold an oral argument, which is set for Monday. The order came in response to the lawsuit filed earlier in the day by organizations who represented, where did I go? Sought to assess the impact of the order issued that night by White House Office of Budget Management, which set temporary pause to grants to give agencies time to review spending priorities. Let's see, does it give us a breakdown of the spending? So here's an example. Connecticut's Medicaid payment system has been turned off. Doctors and hospitals cannot get paid. Senator Chris Murphy wrote on X, and freaking drama queen. Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell said her state had tried to draw $41 million in Medicaid funds Monday and hadn't been able to obtain it yet. And there's much more of this. And Chuck Schumer had a whole song and dance about it. Let's see. I'll pull up his video while I pull up the old chart to show just how, like, Medicare, Medicaid might be the biggest, messiest, dirtiest pile of money in the world. Oh, wow. Panama Canal Commissioner comes out, makes a big statement against China. Jeez, can't freaking keep up with the news cycle. This is awesome. Let's see. Let me pull up the Schumer thing. Then I'll show you what's good.
President Trump plunged the country into chaos without a shred of warning. The Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is just outrageous.
Oh, wow.
Funds for things like disaster assistance, local law enforcement, rural hospitals, aid to the elderly, food for people in need, all are on the chopping block in this new administration. Why?
Here we go.
They need tax cuts for the ultra wealthy, and these cuts, they think, will fund them. Every one of our offices has been deluged with calls from people who are in panic. What is this going to mean? What if I have a hospital that has people on life support? What are we going to do? And just like the January 6th pardons, this decision is lawless, dangerous, destructive, cruel. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. I spoke to my attorney general this morning. She's head of the State Attorneys General Association. They're going to court right away on this horror. This,
shut up.
Plain and simple, this is Project 2025.
Oh, here we go.
Project 2025 by another name. They knew how unpopular Project 2025 was, but the right-wing ideologues are still in control. So they had to do it in a different way, but it has the same consequences and will have the same horrible, negative, overwhelming reaction from the American people. And who is going to be the implementer of this? None other than the chief cook and bottle washer of Project 2025, Russell Vought. Putting someone like Russell Vought at OMB, the architect of Project 2025, is a huge danger sign to America.
So you got that, but then you got stuff like this. Where is she? So then you got stuff like this. He wants to complain about that. Oh, you're hurting people are taking their money away, but then we find bullshit like this that we're trying to parse through.
Doge, just during this pause, Doge and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars. Just during this pause, Doge and OMB.
Insane. So, like I said, Medicaid, Medicare, probably the biggest, dirtiest piles of money in the world. Like, it's bigger than defense. Like, the Department of Health and Human Services gets 1.6 trillion a year. Even defense doesn't get that. Defense gets like 900 billion. So, like, you know, a book you should read is called The Price We Pay. And it talks about how, like, you know, you always hear about these scams of doctors making tens of millions of dollars by, like, with like the fake appointments and like fake surgeries and everything. Like, there's a million like super easy scams that doctors do all the times with the Medicare, Medicaid stuff. I mean, like, FDR screwed this country up beyond belief with what he did with Social Security. That's more Medicare for like old people who have to be on, you know, have like medical assistance. But Medicaid, that's straight up for poor people. That's like medical welfare. And yeah, like, I get it. Like, the medical stuff's such a disaster in this country. Like, it's absorbently more expensive than it should be. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, a lot of really like fixable reasons that that's the case. We can get into that another day because that's like an hour-long conversation. But I'm just trying to find this chart that I always like to show about the government spending and showing how big a percentage of it the medical is. Government spending. Government budgets. Let's see. Come on, give us the goods. What do we got here? All right, here we go. Here we go. So yeah, national defense 15%, 262 billion a year. Social Security gets grouped in with health and Medicare. And what else we got in there? Yeah, I think that's it. So that's 5 billion or 500 billion. That's 750. That's like 1.3. And there you go. That's what FDR did to this country. Man, that's like right up there on the top of my list after this. Like after this Federal Reserve episode that I'm doing right now. So close to being done with it. Don't worry. After that, gotta show you guys what freaking FDR did to this country. Like he's right up there with Woodrow Wilson. Like people call FDR the greatest president in the history of America. He might be the worst president in the history of America, like, or probably second to Woodrow Wilson, but cannot understate how destructive the New Deal was to this country. Like that's why we're 36 trillion in debt. That's why we promised more than we could deliver. Let's run through some questions and then we'll jump off for the night because we got an early morning in the morning. I know the raw deal. It's disgusting. It's sick stuff. Steve P says, I've been broke as shit almost my entire life and never took a dime from the government in the form of assistance because I'm not a pathetic waste of life. And that's why I love you, Steve P. That's why I love you, because you are a patriot and you have a thing called pride and character that a lot of people lack today. Way too many people on welfare. Like that's something that Trump should do an audit on right now, is like how many able-bodied people are on welfare? Because that's like not acceptable in most circumstances. If you're just like the notion of somebody sitting on their couch laughing about being on welfare, not needing to be, perfectly capable of working, but just taking taxpayer, like that's one of the most sickening things I could think of. If you enjoyed the short clip, click right here to watch the full episode and remember to subscribe to the channel. God bless.